Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 26th of January, and this is Rescue Boss. Figured I'd do a medical chat today, since it's Saturday, and probably not going to get to anything else till later this week, since my week's only going to be starting tomorrow. So I figured I'd do a little bit of medical chat. So today I figured I'd talk a little bit about some normal medical emergencies we may run into as everyday people. But one of the most important things I want you to remember is you out there are the true first responders before help arrives. If you're not doing anything, that person may not survive because nobody's doing anything. How long does it take before help arrives? It varies on where you live, what events are going on, and the current weather conditions will affect that. So, figured I'd talk about it a little bit. One of the bigger ones that we see out there, and I'm not sure if I talked about it, but I figured I'd start with this one first. It's one of the top 3 leading killers of people in the United States is a stroke. Remember, what is a stroke? There's 3 different types of strokes. There's the transient attack, or better known as a TIA or mini stroke. And what's a mini stroke or TIA? TIA is something that comes and goes, transient, meaning it comes and goes. You may see the symptoms, but by the time the ambulance gets here, they may have gone away. Then there's the normal strokes that we deal with, where it's a blockage of an artery in the brain, which restricts blood flow, which causes the symptoms that they experience. And then the worst case scenario is hemorrhagic, which is actually when that vessel explodes and causes bleeding inside the head and brain area. The issue with that is that it causes, it will cause the brain to be shifted due to the blood entering the area with the brain. So the bad part with hemorrhagic strokes, of those people that suffer a hemorrhagic, over half those people will die from the hemorrhagic stroke. So that's a significant number of people that can die from hemorrhagic. Some of the things we want to do is, how do you know if somebody's having a stroke? Probably one of the biggest things I like to do first is I'm going to walk up to them, and one of the ways we used to use, some people would remember the acronym of FAST. First, look at their face. Ask them to smile for you. A lot of times if somebody's had a stroke, one side will go up, one side won't. So you'll see the offset of the face. Another thing you can do is ask them to put their arms out in front of them. Hold their arms there, palms up, and see if they can hold their arms there for any period of time. A lot of times somebody that suffers a stroke, you'll see the drift of the hands. Another one is simple sentences. You know, come up with a simple sentence and have them try to pronunciate it and see if they're able to say that sentence. And then another one is the time that it occurred. How long ago did these symptoms start? Because time's going to be a big thing. What things may we see that look like a stroke? Could be sudden weakness or numbness in their arm, face, leg, or on one side of their body, or both. It may not affect both sides. It may only affect one side, but that's some of the things we want to look for. Another one is some sudden changes in their vision, blurred vision, loss of vision, dimness. They may not be able to see like we would normally. Loss of speech, trouble speaking, or understanding speech. A lot of times people that suffer strokes, they go to speak and they can't, and the more they get frustrated trying to speak to you, the worse it gets. So I tell people, if you're talking to somebody that's had a stroke or stroke-like symptoms, try to go maybe to like a yes and no question, because they're easier words, maybe easier for them to respond to you. Another big one that we've seen is the severe sudden headache and no apparent cause. It'll be the worst headache ever imaginable. They may get nausea with it. They may be vomiting with it. Are all symptoms that it may be a stroke, but like I said, it could be something else going on. Unexplained dizziness or loss of coordination. They go to walk, they can't. Another thing I've seen is if you ask them to walk, they'll have their one foot they may drag because it's not working right. What are we going to do for them? The biggest thing is to keep them calm, get 911 started, and just keep an eye on their breathing and stuff. Keep talking to them, let them know help's coming. One of the things I'm very cautious of is try not to give them any type of aspirin, because if they have a bleed inside their head, which we're not going to know if it's a bleed, a blockage, or what's going on, you may make it worse by giving them the blood thinners. It may make their bleeding a lot worse. So you want to be careful of that if you're dealing with that. So that's a little bit about strokes. I just want a basic understanding so you know what to do if you see somebody with it. Is getting 911 started. Don't throw this person in your car and drive to a hospital, because a lot of times these emergencies, they need help quickly. If you put them in the car, you're driving to the hospital, they go unconscious, you start driving faster, you crash your car, now you become a victim, you're more of the problem than when we started. So now instead of one person, we could have 2 or more, depending on who you run into. So you want to be careful of that. Another one that people get nervous with is seizures. Seizures is an electrical issue of the brain. It becomes very abnormal. But there's different types of seizures out there. There's some that you may not even know that somebody's having a seizure. While others, you'll see that violent seizure where they're shaking all over the place. But not everybody has that type. You know, what are some of the causes of seizures? Can be epilepsy itself, high fever. When you get extremely high fever, a lot of times we see this in the younger children. Normally below 3 years of age, you'll see them sometimes start seizing when their temperature is real high. A severe brain injury can cause seizure-like activity, infections, and sometimes other illnesses. So one of the biggest things is people are like, what are some symptoms of a seizure? Abnormal eye movement. Watching their eyes. They may go side to side. They may go up and down. You know, anything abnormal like that may be an indicator something's going on. They may get unusual smells, tastes, or feelings before they have a seizure. They call it an aura. They may smell a certain smell before they have this type of event. They may clench down their jaw where they're going type of response because of the seizure. Feeling confused, headaches, twitching of the limbs or shaking of the body or convulsions where the whole body seizes. These are just a few of the things that could be an indicator of a seizure. During normal life, we'd be calling 911 for anybody that's having a seizure. If you're not sure what to do, call 911. Let them deal with it. You know, the worst that happens is they don't need to go once the ambulance gets there and it turns out they have a history. But I would find out, you know, somebody you know, do they have medical problems normally? And what are those issues? So you know ahead of time. So we're not dealing with these on the last minute notices. The other thing we're going to do is treatment-wise is stay with that person, move anything away from them. So if they're seizing, they don't bang their heads off it or whatever. The other thing I like to do is remember, try to time the length of the seizure, how long it lasted. Put something under their head so they're not banging their head off the ground. You know, so if they're seizing, they may be banging their head. Remember, years ago, we used to tell people, oh, put something in their mouth. We don't do that anymore. Well, we're learning you put something in somebody's mouth, they're going to bite it. It could cut the inside of their mouth. That could cause more damage than letting them actually have the seizure. Try to protect their head, as I said. Don't give them anything to eat, drink, or food unless that person is fully alert, because they could aspirate it. And the most important part is for you as a rescuer to stay calm. They may turn blue, they may throw up, they may have blood coming out of their mouth or from their tongue. But this is all what happens when they have seizures. Sometimes they will bite the inside of their mouth or their tongue. So that's some of the things we can do with treatments until help arrives. After they're done seizing, I may put them in the recovery position, laying them on their left side. So if they were to throw up or help with any fluids coming out of them, you put them on their side, the fluids come out much easier. And stay with that person, because they may seize again. So that's another important thing to do. And if their breathing or heart stops, then we're going to start with CPR after the event. And one last one I'm going to go over is diabetics. Is to realize that there's two different types of diabetics. There's high sugar and low sugar. But just remember, diabetic emergencies occur when there is too much or too little sugar in the person's blood. The symptoms for hypoglycemia may start 10 to 15 minutes after the symptoms started. They may start getting extremely bad or whatever. Hypo is low sugar. And also, if they've taken anything with sugar, it could take them 10 to 15 minutes to bring their sugar up. So it may take them a little bit of time to get their sugar stabilized. So the easy thing that I tell people to look for is with low sugar, it's normally going to be a sudden onset. And when it's a real high sugar, the high sugars are those people that you may have heard had a fruity, acidy tone smell to their breath. That's a slow onset. Could take a while for them sugars to get real high. So what are we going to do? What are some symptoms of low sugar? Headache, sweaty, shaky, grumpy, dizziness, confused, or just some of it. There's so many other different symptoms it could be. The biggest thing is to try to give them something with sugar and try to get their sugar up if you don't know if it's high or low. They always say err or on the side that it's low, because the oral sugar we give them, if their sugar is high, is not going to push it that it kills them. That oral sugar we give them is maybe between 20 and 50 or 45 grams of sugar. So I tell people, anything with sugar is a good thing to try to give them. Soda, non-diet. Orange juice, maybe mix a little sugar into it. Peanut butter. The biggest thing is if you go to use like something with peanut butter, be really careful, because the peanut butter is thick. They may not be able to swallow the peanut butter and may aspirate it or choke on it. Candy of some type, anything like that to try to push their sugar up. The biggest thing is if you're able to check their sugar, do that. But if you're not, that's just some of the simple ways. So I figured I'd just go over those 3 today. I know it's not a lot of information, but we're just about the 15-minute mark. I don't want to keep you too long, but I know people look forward to my videos on medical emergencies. And if there's other topics you would like me to try to cover, let me know. One of the ones I want to do, and I just have to figure out how to do it, is, and I may have to do it in a live stream to be able to do it, is I want to do a PowerPoint presentation on stabbings, shootings, and stuff like that. But I don't know the way to do it yet, but I'll figure it out. I'll talk to some of the other techie guys in the world of X Nation, and hopefully somebody will be able to point me in the right direction on which way to be able to do that, to be able to share PowerPoint and let you see some information about that. The only bad part is some of the pictures may be gross to some, but it's going to teach you what to expect in that scenario of a stabbing, shooting, stuff like that. I know people like to know about the bad stuff in the world, but we'll try to go over that. So for now, it's 12:37 p.m. on the 26th. I want to thank you for taking your time watching my video, and till the next time, be safe. God bless. God bless America.